Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me well? So welcome to Nashville and welcome to the Southern Automotive Conference. Thank you to the organizers of this wonderful conference. There's still room in the front, so don't hesitate to come closer. So we will talk about building the factories of the future this morning. And we have prepared a couple of topics. So first of all, who is in manufacturing? Raise your hand. Who is passionate about manufacturing? Raise your hand. And who is interested in the topic of the factories of the future? Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so we will share a few words about who we are and what we do. Then we will talk about the world of the factories and the evolution of the world of the factories we have observed. We have studied that intensively. Trends and challenges we see actually in the world of the factories and certainly in automotive, which is always leading the developments. Talking about force to excellence, what is driving the marketplace and how to stay in business. What are the elements helping manufacturers to stay in business and to be the best at what they are doing? What are the winning systems helping to do that? And what is the role of people in the factory in the future? And what are traditional methods like lean management? What is the role of lean in the factory of the future? So you might hear from my accent that I'm a French person. I was born and raised in the northeastern part of France in the region of Strasbourg. I spent 15 years of my life studying and working for a German company in the Stuttgart area, which is a automotive hotbed, company Festo in the automotion market. Spent 5 years in China developing a supply chain for the company, integrating a company and building up a supply chain footprint, so building a factory and bringing it to excellence. Spent another couple of years in North America building a factory for North America and spent my entire career in supply chain, product development, product industrialization. Had the chance to see many industries and many industry segments from automotive, but also food and beverage, agribusiness, electronics, and so on. I'm very passionate about the world of manufacturing and developing best-in-class manufacturing sites, so that we started with my partners, Altix Consulting, last year, helping manufacturing companies to compete globally. Would like to briefly introduce my partner, Liam Cassidy, which is one of the best lean champions in the world. He will introduce himself a little bit later, but he has a terrific track record working for GM and P&G and many other companies, transforming sites to best-in-class sites and very successful manufacturing sites. So we help our clients to compete globally. We help them in Asia, in Europe, and in the Americas, and all of our partners have worked and operated globally in different cultural environments. So what are the elements of a modern operation? I like this picture a lot because it tells us so much about manufacturing, and those of you loving Formula One, it's a nice sport, it's about technology, but it's also a lot about people and a collaborative spirit. Culture is really the key. And the best teams are really made up of people making the team. Technology and infrastructure is important because you can only compete with state-of-the-art equipment. Organizing the team and the structure, and you know how these guys are good, changing the entire car and prepping it up, doing the reset within seconds. Yeah, I think actually they do that in 3 or 4 seconds, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Process and methods, efficient global supply chains. You don't want to run out of material anytime so that your factory can run. Training and practicing, so spending enough time training your folks and giving them the best capabilities to operate in your environments. Speed and reliability, because the competition is not sleeping, so you better catch up with all the things going on in technology, but also in management methods, so that you stay at the forefront of your market. You want to know how you are doing, so key performance indicators are key, and visualize your number. Dashboards and data analytics, we'll talk a little bit about data and the shift we see in data analytics. That's very important, so make use of all of that. The back office teams are also important. It's not only about the champions, it's not only about the driver or the leadership, but it's everyone in the company who plays a critical role. From the maintenance team to the operators, the material manager, is really everyone in the company. And science and engineering are building the fundamentals in our industry. So these are the elements in the company we can control, and it's really what we should focus on. There are other elements we cannot control. We call them external forces. We cannot control them, but we can be prepared for whatever happens. So economic climate, we see now that there are geopolitical tensions, tariff discussions, and all these things. We cannot control that, but we need to watch it. We need to learn what's going on, and we need to be prepared. How do we reorganize our supply chain strategies? How do we get prepared for that new environment? Societal changes, workforce, millennials, how will they approach working in manufacturing tomorrow, and how do we adjust our human resources strategies to this? Technology disruptions. In automotive, you are certainly talking a lot about electromobility and what's the impact on the industry. How do you prepare to compete tomorrow in this new environment? What does it mean for your business? Competitive landscape, watching what's going on in M&A. What are your competitors doing? Are they buying somebody else? Are you planning to buy somebody? What are the new players in the market? Sometimes you never heard a name from a Chinese competitor, and tomorrow they are disrupting your industry. So watch the market carefully. Stakeholder ecosystems from suppliers and research partners, research institutes, having a good picture of the entire ecosystem. Natural disasters. We have seen what happened in Japan a couple of years ago with Tohoku in 2011 and Fukushima and the disruption in the supply chain, what happened. So risk management is important and being prepared. And of course, new threats like cyber security, digital threats. What does that all mean for our industries today and tomorrow? So being prepared is really the key. This is a slide I really like a lot, and I studied this material for a long time. How did the factory evolve over the years, and what can we learn from that? So one chart here shows the evolution of the world population over centuries, but certainly an acceleration curve in the last 300 years, where world population increased tenfold. That's amazing, tenfold in 300 years. In the same time, the number of factories has exploded. So we went from a couple of hundreds to tens of millions or to millions, and approaching the tens of millions. And of course, all these people need to be fed, need cars and clothes, computers and iPhones and all that stuff. And of course, this explosion led to a revolution of the world of the factories and the way factories look and feel. So we went from very hostile environments to today bright, safe, and friendly factories, smart factories. And this will be the core of our discussion. So you see a couple of pictures on the chart here, like one of the first factories. Oops, wrong button. It's not going back. Okay. The first picture was a factory in England, a textile factory 300 years ago. And the picture next to it is BASF in Ludwigshafen in the 1800s. And we know how factories look like today. It's very different. So you all have heard about Industry 4.0 and about these different industrial revolutions. So the first one was about mechanization, bringing force to the factories, and steel and rail. The second one was about electrification, and we cannot imagine any factories nowadays without electricity. The third one was about automation, robotics, computers, and computerization. And at the beginning, while it was still, you saw a couple of computers in the factory, nowadays we have hundreds, if not thousands, of computers in a factory. And the fourth industrial revolution, where we are right now in the midst of, is all about data and data integration and cyber physical system. So devices talking to devices. So how do we prepare for that? The age of disruption. I'm sure you have observed that technology is as well in an acceleration curve. Things we have not seen 20 years ago are now omnipresent, and it will continue. So how do we keep up with innovation? How do we sort that out? What is important for my factory? What is important for my industry? And how do I stay top of the game without being distracted by all the things which are not relevant for me right now? So how to do that? So looking at all these elements, there are good techniques and methods on how to navigate the complexity of all this information and developing the right strategies. But certainly, speed is the new currency. We are right now in the acceleration curve, and this will not change anymore. This will just continue to accelerate. So over 120 years, so who knows when was the first management consulting firm created? Any ideas? It was about 120 years ago, and it was McKinsey actually in link with Taylorism and the first Fords produced. So it started in the United States, and of course with mass production, a lot of methods and systems had to be developed to manage develop the industrial engineering technologies, develop quality management systems, develop management systems to run complex organizations and companies. And over the 100 years, a lot of methods have been developed to help do two things: reducing costs and reducing cycle times. And this is also something what is never ending. So it's always about reducing costs and reducing cycle times while keeping quality at a very high level. So how to keep the pace and how to continue to do that with all what happened already before. Integrated systems. So in the past, we had mechanical engineers and electrical engineers and software engineers. Today, systems are integrated. Look at the automobile. There are so many technologies working together, and systems need to be ready on time together. So collaboration has a very different meaning nowadays, and skills change tremendously. How to understand the language of the different partners to manage a complex integrated mechatronic system. Technical evolution in the factories has changed dramatically with the rise of numerical control. And while at the beginning NC was new, now we don't see anything else. It's omnipresent in the factory. And certainly in the 40 last years, the explosion of IT technologies, and I just name a few examples here of IT systems and their evolution. I still remember the time where in our warehouse we had cards, index cards, where the person from the work preparation office, industrial engineering, the scheduler came out and checked in the box if there are still enough materials in the box. Now we are in a different age. Everything is connected, everything is linked with ERP systems, CAD, CAM systems, how to design the architecture for your IT system, connected not only for a perfect IT environment, but connected to an entire factory architecture with your equipment, your processes, your product, and your people. This is what we talk about. So the evolution of data in this new world is very different. Now we have omnipresence of data, and we permanently have conversations with Liam about, do we have too much data in the factories or too less data? And we feel that the trend in data will not change. We will have more and more data, but we need to make the best out of these data. We need to have the right data and to ignore the noise. So how to extract the best data, what helps you to steer your company and to steer your operation, and how to filter out all these other data which are just a distraction and sometimes leading to inefficiencies and waste in your company. So looking at processes and organizations, looking at past data, present data, and future data, predictive analytics is certainly a big topic in your company, and real-time access to data. Where are the parts? Will they arrive tomorrow, or are they already in the factory? And if yes, where are they? So forced to excellence, we believe that nowadays there is no room anymore for medium quality. You need to be the best in your field. If not, you will disappear. We learned that from evolution and Darwin. We have that in economy and in the world of companies nowadays. There is no room for bad qualities. There is room for low cost and there is room for premium. In the middle, there is not really much. So how to stay top of the game? So working in systems and developing systems for your company so that it's not dependent on people and persons only, but that you have the systems what will sustain and auto-develop and auto-evolve to bring you permanently to the next level of excellence. So operational excellence is a big topic and aiming for market leadership through operational excellence. So I will not go through all these pillars. This would take me too long. And I'm sure you have your systems to manage your company and to permanently drive innovation and drive continuous development in different dimensions, technology dimensions, but also cultural dimensions, people dimensions, IT systems, knowledge management, and so on. Using tool to really develop the architecture of the company to work in a systemic way to what we call the success factors 4.0, evaluating the maturity level of different dimensions of the company and driving them to 100%. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Six Sigma concepts, and just imagine based on this chart, if the company looks like this picture in terms of maturity level. So your customer expects 100% quality and performance. But if different dimensions in the company are performing at 90%, you can just imagine what is the result of the entire equation. So in order to reach excellence, you need to balance this equation and aim for 100% in all dimensions. There is no room for something else. So focusing on the value drivers, what will make you a performer and a good partner for your clients and customers moving forward is a key. So looking at people, process, technologies, and systems in a holistic way will bring you to the next stage of your company life cycle and will keep you in business and make you stronger than ever. And I like the picture of that guy. He obviously trusted the system a lot, and that his team did all the right calculations and the right engineering so that they can bring him back on the shuttle, but also back to Earth. So trends we see in the industry with respect to the factories of the future is, first of all, global market trends, as I just said, force companies towards excellence, increasing quality towards zero defaults, reducing costs and lead times to a maximum in a permanent effort. The winner takes it all. Excellence in R&D and innovation to permanently differentiate and be at the forefront of technology and innovation. But also in all dimensions of your company, human resources need to be top nowadays. We see it, the marketplace has no workforce anymore. The workforce is occupied. There is no unemployment. So how do you as an employer keep attracting the best talents in the marketplace? Well, with human resources excellence and with the right company culture. Finance and IT need to be fully dedicated supporting the value streams in your company, not the other way around. So factories and supply chains are experiencing a never seen before transformation. So how do you attack this transformation if you didn't start already? The question is not if, but how and when it will hit your industry and to what magnitude. So what do we qualify as best practice? Best practice companies are proactive. They are permanently planning the future to 80%, and they are reacting 20% of the time, not the other way around. So they are always planning the future and living in the future with their senior leadership so that tomorrow they are ready for competition. We call it future readiness. Best practice companies embrace technology. Of course, we cannot ignore what's going on, but they keep people at the forefront and at the center of everything they do. Robots, even tomorrow, will have to be maintained, installed, engineered, so your people have the knowledge in the company, cherish them, and make them part of everything you do. So world-class organizations focus on world-class people, world-class processes, and I will not name all these dimensions. I mentioned that before. But world-class companies look at it as an entire system, like a chef d'orchestre, an orchestra, a maestro, because everyone in the company plays a very critical role. Okay, I would like now to invite Liam on stage. Liam will give you a couple of business cases and case of best practice we did before and share a little bit his perspective. He has much more years of experience than I have and lots of successes. Thank you for your attention.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Yannick. I'm from Donegal, Northwest Ireland. I grew up on the side of a mountain surrounded by small farmers and a lot of Ulster Scots people, the salt of the earth people who are very principled and very honest, and I think instilled in us some very good habits that we try to take through life. I stumbled into General Motors by accident when I was in London as a young man, very young man. So the first 20 years of my life were spent within the auto business. And I can tell you, there may be other businesses and sectors out there that are tougher, but I haven't found them. So those of you who have survived as individuals and organizations and thrived are doing a lot of right things and deserve, that kind of recognition. So during those 20 years, I worked in all of the operational departments. First as a young guy, and then as I got older, I pretty much managed them all, and eventually went on to manage factories. I was introduced to what was then called world-class manufacturing in the mid-'80s, and I was awarded an EU scholarship, which GM sponsored for me, and that changed my life, and it changed the way in which I looked at people and treated them, and how I saw how factories should and organizations should hang together. I was part of a group of people in those years, for 4 or 5 years, that done great things on sites across Europe. But when we would go back 6 months, 9 months, a year later, we were wondering why it was melting away. So it took me a while to figure it out, but we figured out it was leadership, and it was the way in which people were continued to be treated within that business. So in 1990, I had an opportunity with Gillette, and I went to them. And I've been running factories for them really for the following 18 years in different parts of the world, and mostly turning poor-performing sites around. So there's millions of things I cannot do, but we're all good at something, and I think I found what I was good at. So that's kind of me. So change is enormously difficult. Those of us who know how to do it, know how to do it, and we do it well. But for organizations, it's very difficult. And 70% of all change initiatives fail. This is a number from Harvard. And only recently, the LEI, the Lean Enterprise Institute, acknowledged that over 90% of all lean initiatives fail. This is an enormous number. I had been saying for years it was around 80%, but when numbers actually came out, it was worse. And why is this so? Those embarking on change, face enormous challenge. 10 years in 2009, P&G acquired Gillette in 2005, and I left that organization in 2009, and I got into the world of consultancy. So up until then, I've been saying that if lean failed, it was a failure of leadership. I still say that, but I didn't realize what an impact third-party providers had contributing to that failure. There's very few, in my opinion, good people out there who know what they're doing. There's a large population of people who confuse and mislead clients. They change language. What was world-class manufacturing in the mid-'80s is today lean. Now it's operational excellence or whatever other things I can't remember right now, but people change language all the time. So people are confused, and lean is, unfortunately, getting a bad name. But in 40 years in this business, I have found no better system to transform your workforce, transform your business, secure your future, and actually have a really motivated environment in which people want to stay and want to come and work within. There's many barriers to change. A lot of it is people think they lose control when they delegate or hand over, but in fact they don't have control today in the traditional organizations. I'd say that 80% of what many people do in many factories and supply chains is pretty useless. It's yesterday's issues, and when senior managers should be focusing on the future. So, time is limited this morning. I could talk all day. We will be around in the afternoon and the evening and tomorrow for those of you who want to come and talk. But this is just a quick glance at some of our case histories, and we have more. And these are verifiable sites that you can check out what I'm saying. In the Czech Republic, the German owners were contemplating shutting down a factory about 1.5 hours from Prague. The factory was in big trouble, and they didn't know what to do with it. So they asked us to go in and have a look, and they came back in 3 months after we went in there, and they were just transformed. And they signed off on a couple of million of investment that day. And that plant is surviving and has expanded today. In 2000, I was asked by the Gillette, my then boss, who was German, to go to Iowa City, not a million miles from here, to prepare the largest toothbrush plant in the world, the Oral-B plant, for closure announcement within 2 years. He said, I can't send a German over there because they hate us, and he wouldn't get out alive. But the Americans like the Irish, and I know you have lots of cousins over there, so please go and do it for us. So I said, I have cousins in, I don't know how many states. I have hundreds of cousins over here, like most Irish families. So yeah, I will go, but I'm going to have a go at turning it around. So we turned it around, and within 2 years, it's what's considered the best factory within Gillette. In year 3, the cloud was lifted. The president came and formally said, this factory is safe. We're going to invest in it. And it was just transformed. So it's one of my proudest case histories, because at that time, manufacturing was fleeing to China and to Mexico. And I had been arguing for years before that if factories do the right things, organizations do the right things, either in high or low cost locations, you can survive and thrive. And that was a terrific example up in Iowa City. And the LEI, the Lean Enterprise Institute, got wind of it. I don't know how they did. But they asked to visit, and with the view to writing a case history. So they came down, poked around for a couple of days, and wrote a case history. So those of you who are curious will find it in their library, or give us a shout afterwards and we can send it to you. In China, I've spent some years down there too. Terrific place to work, but you've got to have a network, and you've got to understand that culture. And this is where I met Yannick Schilly, who was head of operations at a large site in the north of China that the Festival organization had acquired. It was previously state-owned, and it was riddled with bad practices. People were paying cards, sleeping on their desks. Waste was really frightening. And in 2.5 years, we made it the best plant within the Festival organization, and one of the finest sites that you'll see anywhere in the world. And that site continues to deliver 15% productivity year on year since we left. And then we attacked the very complex China supply chain for their products, and we brought lead time down from 15 down to about 5 days. So a terrific example of what a well-implemented lean program can do. This guy wrote some very nice things about us. He was the head of operations within the Festival organization. We worked on other sites with many other case histories, but we are good at what we do, and we're not shy about saying that. But those of you who are contemplating change and contemplating maybe having another go with lean, because I think most of you in the auto business have already tried it, some successfully, many not. If you're going to go to a third party, take great care. Check them out, go to sites, and particularly go to a site 2 to 3 years after they've left. There aren't that many out there who have verifiable case histories that have sustained themselves. And I went up a couple of years ago back to Iowa City. I left it in 2004. And I was so proud to see it expanding. They were taking products in from China, in from Mexico, from Germany, from different parts of Europe. And they were just bursting, and they were waiting on permission from City Council to build a new building, and they had already rented another factory. So that's because if these practices, if they're done well, and if people like me tell the leadership what too many third-party providers won't tell them, because they won't put the project at risk, they're more interested in revenue stream, then we would have far more of this, and lean wouldn't have the bad name that it is unfortunately getting. Thank you.